Welcome to episode 4 here on Temple New Humanity TV. I am the shadow that lurks down in the subterranean subconsciousness of Father Bryan Rice. Today, I claimed victory over his body and over his desires.
Good evening. Welcome to episode 4 here on the Temple of New Humanity TV. I'm Father Bryan Rice, and you just heard from my shadow. You just heard from a part within me that I would just assume turn a blind eye to. But the point is we can't do that. And a lot of people are content on just focusing on the figures of light and remaining fixated on the light, and there's nothing wrong with that. We need to be able to be fixated on the light. But if we turn a blind eye towards the subterranean, what's from the solar plexus chakra on down to our navel chakra, the sacrum area, the sexual chakra, and the anal chakra down at the root center. These are getting into the very instinctual energies that lie within us. And so, you know, great yogis, great saints, great mystics and ascetics, monastics, renunciates, throughout the ages have understood that in order to ascend out of the pits of the matter word down here, the earthiness, the density, the inertia that can control us, that in order to ascend in the spinal highway, literally Jacob's ladder, you know, ascend with angels or angelic presences or intuitional guidance or transcendental realizations that occur as we bring the life force energy up our spine, up and around our spine, up into the medulla area, and then to the positive pole. Again, the medulla is the negative pole of, it's the egoic, the place of the ego, which ironically is also the place where the cosmic energy comes in from God and from our surroundings, from the consciousness, the pure consciousness of the God domain. Now, why would I start out a video, especially for people who might not have ever visited Temple of New Humanity TV? Catch your attention, you know, what tends to catch our attention is the darkness. We see it in the news. Why are we so drawn towards darkness, towards tragedy? The fact is that we're in a world of opposites. We live in a world of opposites, in duality. And that duality, as the Hindus call it, is Maya, is delusion. And you know, I'm still feeling the effects of even wearing that mask, and I got to turn it over because I'm so sensitive to the energies that are provoked within me from simply seeing that mask on my face and then using the voice changer to demonstrate exactly the kind of suffering that seems to occur when we fall. That's the meaning of the fall. When we fall into the density, into the darkness, or we get sucked down by the whirlpool, the whirlpools of these 3 lower chakras. And the more that we're pulled down, the harder it is to climb out. The quicksand is dangerous. It's deadly. Whirlpools, they can drown you. We've seen it in mythologies with the archetypes, the feminine archetypes of Siren, the sirens. I don't know the exact mythology surrounding it, but I know that they lured men to the rocks near the shore and then devoured them. And then there's Scylla and Charybdis. What Father Richard Rohr teaches is the negative feminine that dwells within a man. A man has a feminine soul image, and a female has a masculine soul image. The first being the anima for the male, and then the animus for the female. And those are revealed to us via the shadow. The shadow hides the truth of our soul. And the shadow is not all bad. The shadow can actually lead us to the gold of awareness and wholeness. And by bringing light to the darkness, and by making the darkness visible, we begin to see the areas where we're not free to choose, free to act, free to think, when we're literally in bondage, so to speak, when we're literally held as puppets to our desires. That's why so many traditions, so many religious traditions talk about being free of desires or sense desires. In the yogic anatomy, in the yogic philosophy, it would be buddhi versus manas. Buddhi meaning the discriminating intellect or the conscience, and manas being the blind sense mind that is linked to all these subconscious currents, the habits that we form in our brain, the senses, all the gratification that comes with entertaining the senses through interacting with the various dance of forms, the sense lures out in the external environment. And it's a never-ending battle, and that's really what the essence of with the content of the Bhagavad Gita from the larger story of the Mahabharata is about our struggle to win, to allow King Soul, as it's called by Yogananda in his translation of the Bhagavad Gita. God talks with Arjuna, to allow him to get into contact with King Soul and to allow it to reign over our bodily kingdom. Now, we can't demonize the body, saying that the body is all wrong, that the body is the cause of all suffering. It's not. It's the sense mind. It's the inclinations that begin in the mind. It's erroneous thinking. It's erroneous perceptions that cause these overindulgences to happen with the different five senses that we have. And so, in yoga, there's 10 commandments, so to speak, as there are in the Judaic-Christian tradition, and there's the yamas and the niyamas, and usually you're taught the yamas first. But I wanted to do something. I wanted to share something from Swami Kriyananda's book, Awaken to Superconsciousness. Now, here's some material about the subconscious. The need to clarify the subconscious. The greatest obstacle to spiritual progress is that vast terrain of the mind, which to a great extent conditions our understanding of life without our being aware of the conditioning process. I am referring to the subconscious mind. Again, the level of mind that operates below the surface, in the subterranean area. For it isn't only our conscious decisions that determine our outlook on life and our accomplishments. In the subconscious lie vast farmlands in need of plowing and cultivation, or less figuratively in need of purification and refinement. Less crossed currents of unnoticed desires and attachments obstruct our every worthwhile undertaking. So we need to plow and cultivate the subconscious. We can't just ignore it. A lot of people would just have you say, look at the sun, look at the light, focus on the light. But there is a saying, as Carl Jung said, the brighter the light, the darker the shadow, and that's what we're concerned about when we do work, disciplining work of the subconscious, when we go through it, when we plow it, when we turn the soil over. That's the purpose of farming, is when you disc the soil and turn it over for the next season, it helps to nourish what's going to grow there in the coming season, in the next season for crops, in the next harvest. So again, they're in need of purification. These desires that are beneath the surface of our awareness, the desires many times go unnoticed. They are attachments that obstruct our every worthwhile undertaking. The subconscious mind cannot be bullied. It must be coaxed, and its energies carefully redirected, Kriyananda says. At the end of, he says at the end of the chapter, he'll suggest a method for accomplishing this end. And perhaps we'll do that in coming episodes. He says that it's a misnomer in discussing the subconscious to label it, as many do, as unconscious. There is nothing unconscious about it. Indeed, there is nothing unconscious about anything. Not even the rocks are totally unconscious. There is only the aspect of consciousness of which we are not dynamically aware. In conscious mind. Now, in a country, this aspect would represent that segment of society which aristocrats used to snobbishly to write off as the great unwashed masses, so to speak. It is the unprocessed residue of thoughts, actions, and memories that are ever present, but more or less unnoticed. They greatly influence the conscious mind, which doesn't often realize how ungoverned by free will its decisions really are. Now, thoughts and actions frequently repeated form habit patterns in the subconscious mind. Habits can be positive as well as negative. Positively, they free the conscious mind to concentrate on other things, more holy things, more uplifting things, life-giving things. Now, for example, because we've developed the subconscious habit of tying our shoelaces a certain way, he says, we can perform that act automatically while chatting effortlessly and planning with others the program for the day. Now, if we had to tie our shoelaces with the care and deliberation of a child learning the job for the first time, all our concentration would have to be focused on that simple act. So the subconscious demands a great deal of our time. And if we did give it time of day all the time, we'd be living in complete and utter chaos. The habit is an important labor-saving device to the mind. It's not all bad, the subconscious. The subconscious is not all bad. It's when it takes total control over us. Without it, we'd be greatly limited in our freedom to accomplish almost anything, Kriyananda says. Habit is also, however, an unthinking and undiscriminating servant. If we repeat a wrong action often, such as I did today, which was pig out at a buffet, if we do it enough, our subconscious will direct us to keep on repeating it, even without our conscious awareness of its power to influence over us. So, one of the subjects that we need to really hone in on in the yogic lifestyle and in any path of meditation, any path of self-control, is to grab hold of the weed that is growing within our garden of consciousness. Now, the Bible says not to pull up our weeds. Jesus says not to pull up our weeds. But I'm telling you to pull up your weeds and then bury it next to the plant of our conscious awareness, because it actually fertilizes it and gives it nourishment. So by coming as Suzuki is his last name, he's a Zen master, says, by doing that, becoming aware of the currents, the cross currents of our subconscious, of the weeds of our mind, we actually help the conscious mind to be healthy, active, pure, and discriminative. So I hope that this is just some food for thought in this mini discourse today. We're gonna run out of time in about 5 seconds, So peace. Have a great weekend.